Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Tinkerbell. This is a donation reward for Smurf. We did a movie last week, Idiocracy, for Venom, and so it just makes sense to kind of switch to the next person again, even if we did a bunch of weeks in a row with just Smurf because it's all we had. But yeah, Smurf gave me two options, so I think I already know what the next one's going to be just because of that. He basically okay, pick one of these two, whichever one you're more in the mood for. And it's like, okay, so the other one will be for next time. But Tinkerbell. So obviously I know who the character is because, I've seen Peter Pan. I've seen multiple versions of Peter Pan. I've seen Hook, yada yada. And I don't know if this movie falls within the same continuity as the Disney Peter Pan movie. Because I know the character obviously takes the visual style from there. But I don't really know much about this film. All I know about it really is that it builds upon the world of fairies, which the Peter Pan movie obviously didn't really go into. The animated Peter Pan movie brought in all these different kinds of races and characters and creatures and all, and you don't really actually get to spend a lot of time with any of them, and really get to learn about them. It's mostly the human characters that are the focus, outside of, the crocodile, but even then, that's more of the crocodile is more of a plot device for Captain Hook, to be fair. But yeah, so I don't know exactly what to expect from this. I don't know. I've seen pictures of the other fairy characters, so I know what they look like. Screenshots and art and whatnot. I know what they look like for the most part. I don't know their personality or character or any of that. I don't know what the plot of this film is. And again, if it does take place within the same continuity, the same canon as the animated Peter Pan movie from Disney, when does it take place? Before or after Peter Pan? There's a lot of questions that goes in with that. Because in the Peter Pan movie, Tinkerbell was Peter's friend and was allowed for the fairy dust to be able to give flight to the children. But Tinkerbell also had a huge crush on Peter as well, and a huge jealousy streak for Wendy. Also a lot of sass. The live-action Hook movie didn't really portray that in the same way at all. And that Tinkerbell was actually kind of just really nice. So I've seen maybe a couple clips of this, but I don't remember much of anything about them. So I don't even really remember exactly how Tinkerbell is portrayed in this film, but based off of visuals and stuff I've seen, she's probably not as sassy and jealous of a character as she was in the Peter Pan film. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect, really. And again, I don't know what the entire plot's going to be like. What's going to be the antagonizing force in this? Is there going to be an evil fairy? I don't know. I know there's a bunch of these movies too. I think a lot of them, if not most of, even all of them, I don't know, were direct to video. I don't know for sure, but I think at least most of them were. And I don't know exactly how many there are, or again, what they're about or anything, but I'm definitely interested. I've always kind of been interested. Um, because it's just always been this kind of thing that's in a way appealed to me. I like pretty cute things. I like fairies and stuff, and it's like, yeah, I like other stuff too. I have a very diverse set of interests, okay? I like horror just as much. I like action. I like all kinds of stuff. Um, but it really depends on how it's portrayed still. So I'm just hoping it's portrayed well, that it's well written, directed, and excuse me, and even performed. So we're just gonna kind of have to give it a shot and find out. Um, but it's very clear why this was all done. Like the Tinkerbell movies, why they were made, merchandising. You know that's the only reason they were made, just to sell toys to little girls and stuff. Disney wanted to capitalize on this market, and yeah, I mean it probably worked. To be fair, but I'm hoping that that doesn't mean that the movies are bad, because sometimes when something is clearly made to sell toys, they put in the most minimal amount of effort into actually making the series or movie or whatever. But then there's other times where you get something that's like, oh yeah, again, it's made to sell toys, but the creators, the writers, the directors, they put in effort. Like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a huge example of that. The reason it had such a huge following with the Brony fandom and everything is because of the effort that was put into the series. It was a series that was it's Hasbro. It's made to sell toys. They brought it back specifically to sell toys to a new generation, to little girls mostly. That was the market audience. But because Lauren Faust and Megan McCarthy and M.A. Larson and everyone else who worked on the series did such a phenomenal job at making it have a lot of depth and character and just, again, good writing and direction, it allowed it to become this huge phenomenon. And while I've definitely seen my fans of like the Tinkerbell movies, I would not say it became a phenomenon at all. It definitely didn't have the same level of attention received by fans. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect it to, because the MLP fandom kind of coming out of nowhere like that was a big thing. It wasn't just like, oh, just a good sized fan base. It was kind of a huge surprise. So, but either way, I am excited to see what this film has in store, and hopefully, it ends up being pretty good. Even if it's not the best, I hope it's still pretty good. Let's just get this started and find out. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being, or to the movie, rather. Sorry, to the movie. I'm used to saying episode, okay? That being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I'm mixed on this, because the overall movie was enjoyable enough, even if it was very clearly meant to be as like little girlish as possible. Like you know what I mean? It's very obviously meant for like little girls who aren't gonna think too much into it. Because that's where the problem with this lies for me. When you actually think about what is happening here, it's not good. It's not okay. The main message kind of behind this is conformity. It's like, why dream for anything bigger when you could just stick to your lane? That's literally what it's saying. Tinkerbell dreams of something better because she doesn't enjoy being a tinker. It's not appealing to her. She finds it boring. And so she tries out all these other things that she just is not good at on her first try. Because no one's like just going to be automatically good at something on their first try. That's just not how things work. But she and the others take this as meaning that she's not suited for that work no matter what. And by the end, the message is like, oh, she figures out, oh, she actually is good with tinkering, and it's actually what she's meant to do, and she should have just accepted that. And it's like, that's not okay. That's really gross. For the message of this, for the message of a Disney movie especially, to be conformity is really not okay. It's basically saying, if you just stick to your lane and like don't question anything and just do what you're told, that what you're told is what you're good at, then everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be okay. Your life is going to be as good as it can be. Like even with the fact that yeah, she did end up getting to go to the mainland in the end. It's like that it didn't stop what it was saying to do that. It still kept the core theme and message that was still really like wrong. And it's like, I don't know, when did this movie come out? Let me check real quick. Because it's like this, I just don't feel like this makes sense as a lesson for, especially again, a kid's Disney movie in today's day and age. This came out in 2008, so over a decade ago. But still, it just seems honestly just kind of gross. So I can't really get over that, but at the same time, again, there was some enjoyable cutesiness with this film, and it wasn't like unentertaining to watch. It's just that one aspect of it really, really just bothered me on a fundamental level. And it's not something I can just ignore or brush past to look at the good stuff. No, it does affect the film because it's legitimately a main plot point and is integral for where everything in this movie goes. So it's not just something I can just hand wave off. But this film was an origin story for Tinkerbell. We found out that apparently every time a baby laughs, a fairy is born, and that fairy is led by the winds to Neverland, where they are sorted into their own little talent, and basically expected to serve that one talent for the rest of their lives with no chance at exploring other ideas or even figuring out what they want to do. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get over this. And it's ironic too. It's extremely ironic because Mae Whitman voices Tinkerbell, and she's also Amity in the Owl House, and the Owl House has a very strong message about not conforming to things. Like, that's a very strong message to it. And yeah, it's more with Luz. Like, Amity remains in the Abomination tract at X side. She doesn't explore other tracts like Luz and some of the others do. But still, she's also shown, Amity has also shown that she's not going to just conform to things anymore either. She's gone against the grain as well, just in different ways. And it's just like, and yet this film, again, I know they're not connected in any way, but it's just outside of Mae Whitman, but still, it's just, this film is the complete opposite in its message. While the Owl House praises and encourages individuality and freedom of expression, this squashes it. The other characters in this film besides Tink were interesting. I feel like they didn't have enough time to shine. They were there more to progress Tinkerbell's story than anything. The only ones that really stood out were the other two Tinker Fairies. I can't think of their names right now. They stood out a little more, not just because, Rob Paulson and Jeff Bennett voiced them, but also because they had a little more screen time to establish themselves. All the other fairies like that Tinker was befriending and working with to try and find another thing to do, they didn't really have much personality or character in this film. Maybe that's expanded upon in future films, but there's not too much of that here. Vidya kind of has some personality to her, but she's just kind of a bitch. And I get that that works as an antagonistic force in the film, but there's nothing really more to her than that. So even she's kind of one note in a way. Just all the other characters don't really stand out except, again, those other two Tinker Fairies. So it's like there's not really too much to talk about. The art and animation, very 2008, very much within that time period. So I'm not like super like against it or anything. I'm not like one of those people who are gonna like complain and bitch about it just because it's like not the greatest. It for the time it was serviceable. In today's day and age, it wouldn't fly. I guess, pun intended. But yeah, in that day and age, in 2008, it's serviceable, it works, it's fine. I'm not that worried about it. Especially for a movie that wasn't, like this big budget thing, but still. The music in it was fine. I had no issue with the music. The voice acting was good. I had no issue with that. And most of the ideas that it even put into this film about fairies and about how all of this works and all, I don't even have much of a problem with. Like, hell, I don't even have much of a problem with the fact that they are sorted out like that at first. I just wish that it had been fixed in the end. That was what I was really hoping it would go into. That in the end, the message would be that no, this kind of oppression is wrong, and that we need to stop that, and we need to let fairies do what they want to do. We need to let them, live for themselves and have freedom of expression. And choose whatever jobs they want to do. But no, instead it's just like, no, just conform. And it's just like, oh my god. It tries to paint conformity as this good thing, as if something that's necessary and important for things to work in the world. Like, it uses the idea of like, oh, the fairies are what make the seasons change and all, and but at the same time, it's like it's using that specifically to paint this message that conformity is good. It's using that idea to say, like, oh, you need to conform to your job because if you don't, it messes everything else up. And it's like, fuck that. I'm sorry, but you're using this specifically to teach a very toxic message. Well, again, the kids won't necessarily understand this, but that's the issue. The little kids, the little girls watching this aren't going to understand why that's a bad thing. They're going to see it as like, oh, Tinkerbell accepted who she is and just is okay with her position and everything, so I should be too. And it's like, no. That's not, the kids are going to just take that to heart because they're easily influenced, and that's not going to help anything. And that's why this film is kind of frustrating me, because again, there is a lot of things in it that I do enjoy, and it was an enjoyable enough watch, except for that one thing. But the one thing is so big, it's such an important thing, that it actively hurts the film by doing that the way that they did. So I'm just really upset about that message and that lesson that they went with this. It also really kind of goes against the idea of like fairies to me. Like, in my eyes, fairies are supposed to be free-spirited creatures that don't really adhere to strong social orders and whatnot. So the idea that they are in this is like really kind of upsetting to me and confusing and just not okay. I'm sorry if that's pretty much all I've been talking about in these post thoughts, but there's not really much else to discuss with the film, just outside of like, it was cute, it was fun, I enjoyed it enough. This is the only thing that really feels like it warrants like a lot of discussion post watching. So I'm sorry if it seems like I'm just entirely negative on this film, because that's not the case. Like I said, I'm very mixed, but the negatives are very bad, and I don't deny that. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Tinkerbell? And yeah, maybe future installments will fix this issue, I don't know, but maybe we'll check them out if they're suggested, for sure. If they're a donation reward, I mean, yeah. But either way, it's like, I'm not disappointed at having seen this, I'm just disappointed with the lesson it went with. I'm still glad I got to check out this film, and I do thank Smurf once again for choosing it as a donation reward. So Smurf, again, as I said in the pre-thoughts, I think I know what your next one's going to be, just because you had me choose between two here, so... So yeah, we'll get to that in the future, when you're ready to. And in the meantime, we do actually still have another donation reward already planned, so we've got options at the moment. But if you have the desire to and are able to, all donations get a reward, no matter how big or small. If you donate, you get a reward. You can have me react to a movie, a series, a YouTube video, anything you want, really, as long as I haven't seen it. And it's completely optional. You don't have to do it, again, if you can't or don't want to. It's just a way to get you guys a little more involved on the channel and get me to check out stuff that I wouldn't otherwise do for one reason or another. Movies are this is especially a great way to get me to react to movies, and has allowed me to see so many movies that I would have otherwise never seen and ended up loving. So yeah. And again, you can choose a series or a YouTube thing, anything you want. as long as I haven't seen it, and that can be discussed and everything to make sure. But again, it's completely optional. No matter what, none of my content will be behind a paywall. Everyone will be able to see everything no matter what. So this is just a way to kind of help you guys get involved. And it's only one way to help you guys get involved, because there is a second way, and that is the poll reactions. Right now, for poll reactions, we are reacting to the Cuphead show every week. But once that starts coming to a close, we will be putting up another poll in which you can vote to choose the next series in that time slot. So thank you all so much for tuning in. And like I said, let me know your thoughts on Tinkerbell down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.